Hey YouTube, so with the release of 3.4, HSR is bringing old school units back with some insane buffs that I'll be reviewing today. Silverwolf, Kafka, Blade, and Jingliu are all getting fundamental changes to their kits to make them even more powerful than ever, so it's time to dust them off from the bench and get them ready for action. Each character can access their enhanced kit through this toggle at the bottom right, and you can freely swap between their enhanced state and non-enhanced state. So if you don't happen to like the changes, you can always default to their original design. My name is Xlice, and I'll be taking you through an efficient overview of their changes and where you can expect their strength to thrive. First off is my personal favorite, and the reason why I even got into HSR in the first place, Kafka. So Kafka has always been the keystone of DOT teams with her detonation abilities, which we'll call instant DOT for shorthand, but ever since a shift away from DOT and more into raw multiplier power, DOT and therefore Kafka have seen significantly less use. But now, with these buffs, the design shift is taking Kafka from a DOT DPS into a potentially future-proof supportive role that not only retains her instant DOT capabilities, but also upgrades them quite massively. This one single shift combined with a multitude of other quality of life makes her quite literally an essential in all future related DOT or EHR oriented comps. So whenever DOT does make a return, and hopefully that's soon, Kafka will be sitting pretty knowing you'll select her for all your DOT needs. Let's run through her core changes. So her skill used to be her core blast attack that only had instant DOT on the main enemy, and now upgrades to instant DOT to all blast enemies effective. Her follow-up talent now has an increased limit of 2 activations instead of 1 per her turn, and her A6 trace adds another refresh after her ultimate. Not only that, all of her talent follow-ups also have instant DOT enabled on them just like her skill. Next, follow-up talent used to be procced on ally basic attack, but now it's on any attack. This is quite massive quality of life since most characters tend to avoid using their basic attack unless necessary for SP generation, especially main DPS. Now, she'll always get these follow-up procs and you don't even need to min-max for it. Her ultimate received a 20% multiplier increase to its instant DOT from 100 to 120%. While this doesn't seem like a huge amount, remember that it's a final damage increase on an AoE ability. And finally, her most important change, Torture. This A2 trace is swapping to a buffing node. If any ally target has 75% EHR or more, including herself, they will receive 100% attack. This quite literally means all sources of EHR are just better than attack percent now, up to 75%. This uniquely also means for some supports, take Robin as an example, if paired with Kafka, will now actually prioritize EHR body main stat since it'll provide a higher converted attack percent than a normal main stat attack percent would. So personally, these changes are absolutely incredible for our DOT queen. DOT by default is a pretty slow damage dealing design type, so with this many inclusions of instant DOT, sustained damage is a lot stronger and faster. But definitely, the one that will keep her strength afloat is change number 5. Converting 75% EHR to 100% attack for all allies is an astronomical harmony level buff, and combined with her utility as the instant DOT unit, she's looking to be a super strong staple for DOT related teams. Next up, Silverwolf. This is a character who used to be extremely coveted for her weakness implant, started to become a difficult slot in due to the RNG of her skill implant unless you went mono-type team, coupled with the entirety of her kit locked into single target debuffing, and then her stat needs became an awkward balance between EHR and sub DPS. With these 3.4 changes, she's now undeniably one of the strongest debuffers with insane uptime, much stronger damage, full AoE coverage, and easier to build. She quite literally got a complete overhaul. Let's run through her core changes. So every single part of her kit, from talent to ultimate and to skill, they all received base chance increases. They now all have massively increased base chance, heavily reducing EHR requirements from her entire build. This improves her core identity as a sub DPS and doesn't have to gut her build to both land her debuffs but also deal damage. Ultimate is changed from single target to full AoE, with an increased base chance and retaining the original multipliers and the def shred. She also gains much needed energy on battle entry and per turn, courtesy of A4 trace, all of which scale from ERR, guaranteeing her to reach a 3-turn ult for a 100% ult uptime. This now frees her from requiring an energy funneling LC and can set value offensive stats to fit her into the sub DPS role. Her skill no longer has RNG on weakness implant. Great, because that was the biggest problem. And instead prioritizes slot 1. This removes the restriction on mono-type teams and, quite frankly, makes her way easier to slot in as a standalone debuffer, which is her most important role. And while her weakness implant is still single target, it now also transfers to the nearest strongest surviving enemy on kill. This reduces her need to constantly reapply it, making her much more more SP positive than before. Base chance of talent increase and also the def reduction bug are increased from 8 to 12%. This increases the total def reduction from her ult, which is 45, and the talent from 53 to 57, which reaches an important threshold of almost 60% def reduction from one single unit. Normally, sources that include def reduction or ignore defense provide around 18 to 25%, so this minor increase means that 97 to 100% is easily achievable with two other sources besides herself. With her base chance increases to 100% and 120% on various skills, her EHR requirements go down to 66.6% and 39% respectively. Combined with her new A6 trace, EHR now also converts to attack at a 1-to-1 ratio up to 50%. This means that 50% EHR is a pretty good sweet spot to grant her full 50% attack, but also it guarantees that you land all the 120 base chance debuffs and also gives you 90% effective accuracy on the 100% base chance. And finally, for those who have it, E2 Silverwolf is actually an incredibly disgusting change for high frequency debuffing. This adds her 100% base chance talent on any time an enemy target receives an attack from an ally. This specific Eidolon makes pairing with Acheron literally steroids and synergizes with other supports that have a large amount of extra attacks to continuously apply her debuffs. So overall, Silverwolf's changes look gosh darn illegal at this point. A massive overhaul to nearly every single part of her kit now has her to be the strongest standalone def shredder that you can add to your team that can also properly build sub DPS stats to deal a lot of AoE damage on her own. Now we're getting into our DPS units, and while they may not shine as bright as our newly revamped supports, yes, Kafka is now a support, they still got the necessary changes to make them squarely strong on the battlefield. First off, let's go over core changes to Blade. First, he is no longer dual scaling. He used to have multipliers split between attack and HP, but now he has pure max HP scaling on everything, making him much easier to build, but also have much stronger support synergies from the recent Amphorius lineup. All of his multipliers across his entire kit got a final damage increase somewhere between 20 to 50%. These much needed increases coupled with his new max HP scaling make him at least 50% stronger than he was before, overhauling his strength to current patch numbers. And most importantly, his base skill now includes a taunt value increaser. While this isn't a guaranteed taunt like you guys might want, usually guaranteed taunt requires a debuff on the enemies. Making this an aggro increase is actually a buff to your ally. Means that even if enemies die, the value still persists because this is a buff on Blade himself. Now for his ultimate, on top of this ultimate receiving major multiple multiplier increases, the A6 trace also provides a massive amount of energy return on follow-up proc, allowing you to spam it more. Not only that, but A2 trace now has been revamped to retain some HP loss after each ult, meaning his damage actually ramps up over time rather than being fully reset. So overall, these changes completely reshape how often Blade deals damage, not only by increasing his multipliers, but also nearly doubling the frequency of his important abilities. Aggro increase, energy funneling, HP loss retention after each ult, and full HP scaling all combined to make him an incredibly staple HP scaling DPS. And last but not least, Jingliu. Similar to Blade, Jingliu also went full HP scaling to take advantage of recent Amphorius supports, and in tune, drastically revamped major parts of her kit to compensate. Let's go over core changes to Jingliu. Her talent still provides for the massive 50% crit rate boost, but instead of mega scaling her attack, it's converted to full crit damage. At max level, it provides 44% per stack up to 5 stacks for a whopping 220% crit damage in enhanced state. This means she'll be prioritizing HP main stat instead of crit for body piece, an uncommon but necessary choice to balance her stats out. Her new talent also provides an extra way to gain these syzygy stacks. When an ally receives damage or consumes HP a total of 20 times, she'll gain 1 stack. This of course synergizes with her base HP consumption of allies on every attack, but this also includes any external sources of HP consumption like Hyacinth's Light Cone. This massively improves her enhanced state uptime by constantly providing her additional syzygy stacks over time. Now her ultimate uptime is enhanced also thanks to her revamped A4 trace, providing so much energy. Both of her E's in base form and enhanced form will provide 15 and 8 energy respectively, meaning more spammable ults, which means more syzygy stacks, which means more enhanced state uptime. On top of her complete HP scaling overhaul, she's also receiving a conditional 25% ignore defense on A6 trace. This does require maintaining max syzygy stacks, which will largely happen with the extra stack generation from HP consumption, but if you manage just the uptime, you'll be receiving another extra boost of DPS to her overhauled kit. Overall, Jingliu's changes are incredibly powerful for her enhanced state uptime, meaning she can stay and maintain very powerful buffs, continuously generate quick ultimates for even more uptime. She still does suffer from massive stat stacking though, and forces her build to prefer HP main stat because her crit rate and crit damage are basically capped by default. With 50% free crit rate and now 220% free crit damage, the only way she can get stronger is through base multipliers, HP, damage bonus, and rare buffs. And that's going to wrap up a concise overview of all the buffs. Now, I didn't cover Eidolon changes in too great a detail because I feel like most people interested want to know their base kit changes and don't have Eidolon investment. Thankfully, the core changes were base kit overhauls, and that's what really matters for these old rusty characters. Personally speaking, I think that the supportive characters definitely received the changes they needed. Silverwolf is basically a new character and is just an absolutely insane AoE debuffer. Kafka is now basically a support, leaving her DPS role behind, and is now the best instant DOT enabler while also having an irreplaceable EHR to attack conversion buff. Both the DPS characters Blade and Jingliu got incredible buffs that they desperately needed, but I feel it will only be a matter of time before they get outscaled again. That being said, this buff is aimed for players that already have the characters and is a welcome appreciation letter for people that main them. Overall, I would have liked to see signature light cones also revamped to support these new builds and be toggleable in the same way these buffs are. It would have been greatly appreciated given some of these kits aren't exactly super heavy synergy with these new builds. So let me know in the comments what you guys think of the 4 buff new characters. Thank you guys very much for watching. Do not forget to like and subscribe to support the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next HSR video. Take care.